Brendan said with his full chest that he doesn't think they made enough money to coast or anything. Like, it's a weird quote. I'm going to comment on it as we go along, but it's taken from the Patreon, and he basically makes a point to say that they didn't make as much money as some of the top guys where they can afford to kind of coast and whatever else it may be. And I have listened to it the first time. I was like, what the fuck? Does he actually believe this? Does this man actually believe they didn't make enough money? Like, they weren't really balling during the heights of comedy podcasting, when it was really at its fucking peak, when the bubble hadn't burst yet, and they were still within Rogan's good graces, and they were in LA, and they were doing comedy, and they had fucking ads and sponsors coming out of every hole in their fucking body, and they were making money hand over fist. Does he seriously think they were making enough? It's again, I'm sure I'm misremembering the exact quote. I'm going to play anyway so I can hear what he has to say. But this is a strange thing to say for Brendan. A very strange thing to say. Let's play the clip.
Anyone says, don't let Callan bring back dropping knowledge, but do bring back those old on it ads. Dolce way, hey, hey, hey. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Bring back those old on it ads. They ain't coming back, bro. Those on it ads ain't coming back. Number one, because if I'm not mistaken, didn't Aubrey Marcus sold his share of On It a while back, I think, and Rogan sold his share, I think, to another company. I'm not going to Google it because Googling stuff and confirming news is fucking lame and not cool and not fun. But I'm pretty sure Rogan has already sold his share On It. I'm not sure. I don't think Rogan's involved in On It anymore. Whoever's got On It now definitely wouldn't sponsor Firing the Kid. I think before, it could be argued that the Firing the Kid did have good enough numbers that would justify them getting an On It sponsor. I think it was justifiable. They were more than justified to have an On It sponsorship based on the previous numbers of downloads they used to get. But if Rogan was giving them mates rates and was kind of giving them, a little bit of grace because they were his boys, they won't get that grace now, because whoever is in control of On It is just going to be looking at the pure numbers, and the numbers mean that they just can't get those ads. So as much as they would love to have On It back on their fucking show as ads or as advertisers, they would never do it, because I don't think they garner enough interest to justify having On It be there. I wouldn't think so.
Callan's just getting older, man, and he likes to drop knowledge, and it's just part of the thing. I couldn't stop it if I tried, Dropping knowledge isn't even a segment. It's just Callan.
He's kind of being a bit rude and mean here, but it also doesn't make any sense. If you're like doing a show and you feel like the show that you're doing is being hampered, is being held back, the quality of the show is being affected because of a section or because of a turn it takes. Whenever Brian gets on his soapbox and starts talking about intellectual stuff, educational stuff, historical stuff, it should be, because you're both equally invested. It's not like Brian's his employee. They're both as invested in the pod. They both started the pod together. The pod's success is in large part due to how they perform. If the pod does well, they both, are going to gain loads from it. Money, monetarily, whatever else it may be. So it's really strange how it doesn't seem like he's able, or they're able to have a conversation where they can talk honestly without any, without crossing the line or getting their feelings hurt, and just say, hey, that thing you do on the show, it's not really a good thing for the show. It's affecting the show negatively. Can you stop? Brian could say to Brendan, hey, when you always interrupt, could you maybe stop and let me finish my sentence, or let me finish my story, and then we can have a bit more balance in the show, so that people aren't getting frustrated and annoyed at our constant interruptions of both of us on either side, so that people can maybe lock in a bit more. And he might be like, yeah, you know what? When we start talking about, could you not go on 10-minute tangents about the fall of the Roman Empire, and instead try and revert it back to some level of comedy, because the fans get bored of that sort of stuff. So I couldn't even stop it if I wanted to. Why couldn't you? You're both involved in the pod together. You both founded it together. Why can't you have that conversation? Why can't Callan, as a fucking nearly 60-year-old man, recognize that maybe the fans don't want to hear about his opinion on, I don't know, the fall of the Berlin Wall? Maybe, I don't understand that. Really strange. It must mean they just don't, maybe he's just not bothered. They don't have those type of conversations. Or maybe Callan is truly, truly, truly one of his own worst enemies, because it's an easy thing to fix. Just stop going down the overly analytical, intellectual, historical, educational road and just be silly. That's what your fans are kind of wanting, isn't it?
It's just what he does. So he's just going to do it. There's nothing to do. Fernando says, Brendan, the other day you were ranting about Dana White and his lackluster fight announcement and how good the UFC fans had it back in the day. Yeah, that's true. Well, guess what, my guy? You basically described the fight and the kid. You guys.
Ooh, he walked into that one. He walked into that one. Well done, whoever commented that. Very, very astute. Very well put. He walked into that one, but very well put.
Used to sing and do funny bits. Ooh, I like this, Fernando. Let's get into it. Well, guess what, my guy? You basically described fighting the kid. You guys used to sing and do funny bits. You guys had super high energy levels. Now, the moment Brian tries to do a bit, you interrupt him or somebody don't put any effort into following the bit. You guys seem like you're one episode away from quitting every episode. Crazy Enough, still my favorite podcast.
That's actually a good point he made about the bit, actually. Because Brendan has a lot of negative things to say about Brian losing his light. His light is gone. There's no shine in his eyes. Cancel culture destroyed him. Like, Brendan's always the first to remind, like, even I, as a Bappaverse commentator, even Unique, I feel like Brendan mentions Brian getting cancelled and those rape allegations more than I do and more than Unique does. I honestly think Brendan mentions Callan's cancellation and his rape allegations more than I do and more than Unique does. He's always bringing it up, which is leads me to believe that Brendan kind of blames Callan more for the fall of the TFATK, for the lack of success that they've recently had. When really, it's on both sides. It's obviously a lot of it is to do with factors outside of their control, but I think the quality of the show, lack thereof, is definitely to do with everybody in that room. Everybody has a part to play, from Chin to Brian to Brendan, right? So, I really did like what this commentator on Patreon made a point to say. There are times when Brian does try to do a bit, does try to get silly, does try to be a silly goose, does try to kind of roll back the years, and Brendan just, like, you know, shuts down, wants to start talking about exhaust and pistons and fucking whatever else it may be, and Kibby Tech and his kids' baseball. He kind of shuts down or just doesn't respond well. Maybe it's because of him quitting comedy and maybe having PTSD or being on stage and when bits come up and stuff, I don't know. But Brian does try. He doesn't try all the time. He's a bit lazy. He's a bit stuck in his ways. He's a bit hopeless, but there are moments where he does try and make the show fun, and Brendan doesn't really play ball.
Legit point, Fernando. Yeah, I hear you. I would say the difference is between us and Dana White, to your point, is Dana's in cruise control because he made it. We never made it.
That is a preposterous thing to say. That is a class A lie. That is a class A top tier lie. If he's comparing, if the term made it is relating to a like for like comparison with Dana White, then of course they were never ever going to make as much money as Dana White anyway to begin with, right? If that's what he's trying to say. If he's trying to say, oh, Dana White's up like, 3-digit millions, cool. But if made it means in the time that you were at your pomp, did you maximize all your earning potentials? Yes. They probably made in the timeline, in the time that's since they've done TFATK full time, I'm gonna say that I'm confident in that they've made multiple millions. They've made 2-digit millions. Since TFATK went full time till today, right? Till day of, they definitely made 2-digit millions from TFATK. They each, I think, made 2-digit millions from TFATK. Each, I would say, over the lifetime of TFATK being around. Now, obviously, lifetime, bills come up, emergencies come up, whatever comes up, but they made good money, really good money. At one point, Brendan, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if you guys remember this, right? But one of the weird things, one of the little like scammy, grifty, kind of, whatever, dodgy, cheeky things Brendan did at the peak of TFATK, Brendan had separate fucking podcast ad deals for Below the Belt, for The Fire and the Kid, and I think something else. What was it? Maybe fucking King and the Sting. He had 3 different ad deals for free, like each one for different podcasts. On top of what he was making as a salary from Showtime, getting a check from there to do the Below the Belt in the first place, they made good money, man. They made it. Brendan at that time was touring around the world doing comedy, touring the country doing comedy, going on Rogan all the time, dropping loads of items and collaborations and all this stuff. How about you never made it? They made it. They made enough money in that period of time to probably not have to work as hard as they are now. They're having to work as hard as they now, especially Brendan, because he spends more than he actually makes, and he always has. But now it's caught up with him. In the past, he could always spend more than he makes because there was always more money coming in. But now the money isn't coming in as frequently, which probably explains why we get more Schaub shows. We get way more Schaub shows now. He's way more punctual with those things. He's pumping out the content. The patrons, they're pumping out content there too. So it's clear to see that money is not flowing as much as it was. But to say that you didn't make it is crazy. Maybe in comparison to Dana White, fair enough. But in terms of overall, for making millions from a shitty podcast, they made a lot. They just squandered it all. Times changed. They couldn't adapt. And here we are.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we never made it. We've always been grinding. And I just think the difference is Dana can be in cruise control, and that machine that he has is going to be fine.
They should be in cruise control now. They should be able to take weeks off without it hurting their pocket. They made so much money during that peak period of fucking TFATK. This is a crazy thing to say, considering all the guests they had on the show. Considering, someone mentioned here, Brian Callen was in movies and TV shows during the time of like those movies and TV shows Brian Callen got. I don't think he got them off the strength of his acting. I think part of the reason why he got those gigs was at that time having a podcast and being an actor was a kind of a cool double threat to have. So some studios or productions would want to hire you simply because they know you're going to be able to promote the show on your fucking podcast. So there's an argument to be had that Brian was in a way a DEA hire, whether the hire was in those roles, because he partly got them because of the success of TFATK. Like, how is that not making it? That is the dream of most actors, I'd imagine. Being able to get jobs solely based on your name, solely based on your reputation, not having to audition and do all that stuff, and being selected specifically for this particular role. I don't know, I found it insane. Like, they should, if they wanted to chill and relax and put their feet up and raise their kids or whatever, they should be doing that now. The fact that they're not doing that now is because they, especially in Brendan's case, just poor financial management. And here we are. But to say that they didn't make it, come on, man. Didn't make it. You made all of it.
When it comes to entertainment and what me and Brian do.
Yo, Bill Coiler, exactly. That's probably true. He probably compares us to Rogan. I really want to know what he means by make it, though. I'm really curious to know. When he says we didn't make it, I'd really like to know what does he mean by make it? Who's he comparing himself to? Because in my head, they made it. Like they actually exceeded expectations. Like no one probably thought they were ever going to get as big as they did get when they were at their peak. They exceeded expectation. They did really fucking well, especially when you consider the amount of competition that was around at that time in LA. They were going blow for blow, swing for punch for punch. They were competing for a moment, especially with the good guests out on the show. Obviously, it all turned sour once the world realized how much of a douchebag Brendan is, and the show wasn't that great without guests. And then when they fell out with everybody, cool. But there was a time where they were doing well. The show was successful. People liked it. They were well regarded. That's making it. They were making loads of money. They were able to follow their passions, support their families, pay their staff. Like, what else is making it? Yo, big up Uche in the stream chat too. Big up Uche. I don't understand. Like, I'm really curious to know, like, you don't think you made it? Like, huh? If anything, he's still on cruise control now. Like, they record, 4 podcasts a week. Brendan probably works a total of 2 hours per day. That's not making it. Working 4 days per week, 2 hours per day, maybe. Recording pods. It's not making it. You'd never made it, you don't think? Jesus Christ. He's not going to be content then. If he honestly thinks the way he works now isn't making it, then you're never going to be content.
It's just like our lives have changed, man. And I hear you. And I struggle with it too. When you talk about energy and just stuff to talk about, and we're not as silly, I don't like it either, bud. I know. I'm trying to figure it out. I don't
like it either. I don't know. Why do you think he's always blaming Brian for this, though? Why is it always Brian's fault? It's not like Brendan's own shows are that entertaining. Schaub's show is only somewhat bearable when Nick's on it, but even Nick is fucking annoying and hard to listen to. It's not as if Schaub's show is like blockbuster entertainment. From minute 1 to the end. Schaub show is very is very kind of meh, boring, meandering, going through the motions. So to act like Brian's the only reason why TFATK isn't fun, like isn't funny, is quite insulting, you know, to everyone's intelligence, because the show just might have ran its course. It actually, yeah, that's the thing. Let me course correct. It might not be anybody's fault. It might not be anybody's fault. It might just be that the show has run its course in its current iteration, in its current format, or whatever. It just might have run its course, and sensible people, grown-up people who had options, who had maybe resources, who maybe could rely, who maybe have some other things to fall back on, they would have probably called this quit time ago, but they actually financially can't. Which is also funny when you consider there was a time where Brenda used to always say, I don't do this show because I don't do this pod because I want to make money. I do it because it's for the fun. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. This is definitely their main breadwinner, TFATK. But to suggest that Brian's the only reason why the show isn't fun is crazy, in my opinion.
I know what to do. It's not all on Brian either.
Okay, good. Good boy. Glad he said that.
So, you know, Brian's damn near 60. We knew this time was going to come.
He's 60, so he can't be fun on the pod anymore. He's too old. He can't be fun on the pod. He can't be funny. He's just too old. Everybody knows once you hit 60, you can't talk into a microphone anymore. You can't sit down in this comfy chair talking to a microphone. It's just too hard. It's just too straining on your fucking esophagus, right?
And Brian's been through some shit, man. And unfortunately, it was out of his control, and it took some of Brian's light away, you know? And I don't know how to get that back. I don't know if it ever comes back.
So what, is Brian depressed? Is Brian fully depressed? Do people notice that on stream chat? Let me know in stream chat. Because it seems like Brendan is not so, with the subtlety of a fucking elephant, with the subtlety of a horse in a single bedroom, with the subtlety of a horse sleeping in a bunk bed. It feels like Brendan's trying to say that Callan is depressed behind the scenes. He's in a depressive state. Have you guys noticed that? I haven't noticed any of that with him. He's a little bit, you know, down in the dumps because he's not saying. I don't get the feeling that Callan's depressed. I feel like Brendan is showing more signs of being depressed than Callan. I'm not gonna lie. I'm feeling like Brendan is showing way more signs of being depressed than Callan is. But maybe I'm reading into it wrong.
And some of it's on me too. You know, I'm fucking.
But yeah, wild clip, innit? Wild fucking clip. Yo, big up Josie in the house. Big up Josie, Wagwan Queen. Brian is deaf depressed, and he knows everyone looks at him and thinks, yeah, okay, I trust Josie's assessment. I trust Joe. Josie's got good, what's that thing called? EQ. Good emotional intelligence. I think you made a good point there about everyone looking at him. Because you get that feeling too. Brian's deaf depressed, and he knows everyone looks at him and thinks rapist. Yeah, he's definitely more self-conscious about the great thing than I thought. Because I remember Chin, I think, having a conversation about him with him. Yeah, Chin had a bit of a heart with him, right? Yo, big up
I'm loyal to default.
Big up Asad Aziz.
Brian's not depressed, he just got some stuff to work on. Anyways, it is not a sis thing.
Love it. Big up Asad Aziz. He's just got some things to work out on. Well, I'll just double check my kick fingers working in my chat. That is brilliant. That is honestly brilliant. Big up Asad Aziz. That is brilliant. Yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah. Is Brian depressed? I don't know, man. I don't really... It makes sense. I think what he's saying is true. He probably is, isn't it? He probably is. But again, I think a lot of it has to come down to not addressing the allegations. He never actually addressed the allegations. I think not addressing it was probably one of the biggest mistakes. One of the biggest errors he made was not addressing the allegations. He should have addressed them. He should have addressed the allegations head on, but he didn't, and here we are. I think if he would have addressed the allegations, he would have been in a far better place. He would have been in a far, far, far better place. But again, what do I know? Absolutely nothing. Let me put the chat a bit up here. All right. Let me put the chat. Is that the chat? Yeah, let me put the chat a bit up there. Apologies, people. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just gonna move the chat a bit up there. Cool. There we go. Put the light on. Boom. So yeah, Brian Callen is depressed though. What you got people saying in the stream chat? Nah. A Martinez, nobody will ever have as many appearances on Jerry as him. Exactly, nobody. He's depressed, but the show is depressing because they aren't entertaining. Bingo, Black American. Mr. Steel Girl, Netflix broke him. Brendan just can't let go of the good old days. Netflix broke him. Oh, yeah, true. Nick is the only guy who's doing something to look forward to. He's been depressed since his special came out. Yeah, true. Big up Dabs McGee. I forgot about that. Yeah, he was also depressed about the special and how, because that was a weird thing. Brian was really taken aback by the special response. He didn't know that. He didn't expect that response. He didn't know that he was gonna get panned the way he got panned. He honestly thought he was much better than what he was. So I think that really caught him off guard. And he was really in his, and I think that's probably the first time he's actually read comments too. He was trying to gauge how people were feeling. So he was reading certain things. Probably people were reminding him about the grape in the comments, and it got into his head, and now he's where he's at. So yeah, maybe Brendan's right. Maybe there is a real issue with Brian. Maybe Brian and that inability to move past the cancellation is really holding back the show. Maybe Brendan is right. Maybe he's actually right. Maybe the main problem is actually Brian. He can't move past it. He hasn't really moved past. But again, I think most of it's to do with him not addressing it. But he's also not addressing it because I think he's guilty. That's my opinion. I think he did the stuff that he was accused of. So he can't really address it. Because to address it, you have to deny it. To deny it, it's not that you didn't do it. But if you know you did it deep down, it's going to be hard to lie. You know? And we all know Brian's not a good actor. It's easy to deny if you didn't touch somebody up. If you're not an abuser, because you're not an abuser. But if you did it, to stand there and be like, I didn't do it, and try and fight for yours. Not a lot of people can do that. You have to be a real psycho. If you have to be a real psycho to fucking say you didn't do something when you did it. Especially something of that extent. Big up Jay's Films. I've been as depressed as it gets. I never told anyone, just told in my room alone and got fucked up when I was out. Everyone and I ever knew who was seriously depressed. That's how they... Okay, that's a good point, Jay Films. Actual depressed people, you can never tell. That's a really sad bit about being depressed. That's a really sad reality about going through it. Actually, properly depressive people, you know, who could be a danger on themselves or to themselves, you would never tell. You could never see it coming. Never ever see it coming. They'll do a really good job at concealing and hiding that shit. So maybe to that extent, Brian could be somewhat depressed. Kind of wild, isn't it? Kind of wild. But at the end of the day, it's just a fucking podcast. I'm sorry. This is serious. This is whatever. But at the end of the day, it's just a fucking podcast. Be funnier. You know, increase the entertainment. Stop getting so serious on the show. Stop fucking interrupting each other every 2 minutes. Stop with the fucking dick jokes. Evolve past the fucking 12-year-old, 13-year-old fucking humor. Make the show more interesting. Maybe read up on certain things. Maybe come to the show with some pre-prepared hot takes. And some really, some unpopular opinions and stir debate. Do something, man. Try something. Shake the show up. Grab the show by its fucking scruff of its fucking collar and shake it up a little bit. God damn. Some of us are out here working full-time jobs. As depressive. We're depressed. We're clinically depressed. Taking medication for it. Looking after our family. Looking after our fucking pets. Taking after our loved ones, and we're fucking depressed. Mental health issues, schizophrenia, bipolar, whatever. We're handling it. These motherfuckers have one of the easiest jobs in the world. Is like, I'm depressed, my career. I'm not on Netflix. Blah. Get over it and make the show interesting and fun. For fuck's sake, get over it. Nobody cares. Ay. Anyway, moving on.